Senator Rand Paul blasted the White House after the White House said Donald Trump's Muslim ban disqualifies him for the presidency. Paul used Twitter to list several reasons why it's President Obama who is unqualified for the Oval Office, and among those reasons, according to Senator Paul, Obama thinks an executive order is legislation and how you make law. His copy of the Bill of Rights obviously only goes from 1 to 3, skipping the Second Amendment and more. And Obama appointed an attorney general who says speech against Muslims is a bigger threat than terrorism. Joining us tonight, Republican presidential candidate Senator Rand Paul, a member of several key committees, including Foreign Relations and Homeland Security. Senator, great to have you with us.
Thanks, Lou.
I want to turn first to the vote last Thursday on the Secure Act, your act in which you proposed a temporary ban, I guess is the way to put it, on 30-some-odd countries that you've identified or would be identified as bases for extremism. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think we're crazy not to look at immigration. Even starting with 9/11, the attacks on 9/11, all 19 hijackers came here using the legal immigration system. They all had visas, but they weren't really obeying our laws. I mean, a couple of them came here as students but weren't attending school. A couple of them came as visitors and really weren't visiting us. And a couple of them were actually on the CIA watch list, and we let them in anyway. 2 of them actually lived with an FBI informant for a year. So we do have to look at our legal immigration system and say, do we want to have more scrutiny on the people who come and visit us? This most recent example in San Bernardino, I think there should have been more scrutiny of the woman's visa who came in. Apparently she wasn't honest even on her visa application, and yet no one scrutinized it.
And the fact of the matter is, the interviews that are supposed to be so rigorous were not conducted as far as we know right now. There is clearly a statement from the State Department. This is a rigorous process for the so-called fiancé K-1 visas. And we're talking, this is only a small number of the folks who travel into this country. But the reality is not even the least, the minimum, was done to protect American citizens and to follow the law.
And this isn't just the first time. 2 Iraqi refugees came to my hometown, Bowling Green, Kentucky, and they came in under the refugee program, but it turns out they tried to buy Stinger missiles and we caught them, but one of them's fingerprints was already in our database because his fingerprints were on a bomb fragment from Iraq. And they say, oh, we have great scrutiny for the refugees. Well, guess what? 2 of them that came to my hometown weren't sufficiently scrutinized. We do have to have rules about who comes to this country, and we are fools if we do not enforce stricter rules. Even for Europe, I would have people come in through global entry, which means you get a background check. Once you've had it, if you're a businessman or woman who comes here frequently, by all means, keep coming. But go through the frequent flyer program, the global entry, so we can background check people, so we don't have random people. Yeah. I mean, all of the attackers in Paris were French citizens. There's nothing stopping those people from getting on a plane right now. We have to do something about this if we care at all anything about terrorism. The first thing we got to do is defend our border.
And for whatever reason, Senator, as you well know, the integral agency in all of this is the Citizenship and Immigration Service. It is one of the most screwed up federal agencies among many screwed up agencies, but critical to at least administering immigration law and the process by which people enter this country lawfully. It is an outright mess.
And see, we've been talking about for decades fixing the immigration system. So what I've said is, why don't we stop immigrating people from the countries that are a high risk for terrorism and force people to fix it now, rather than promising to us, oh, we're getting around to fixing it. It's just going to be a few more years and we'll fix it. No, let's just stop immigration until it's fixed now. How big is the problem? There are 11 million people in the country illegally. 40% of them are said to have overstayed their visas, but we don't seem to care. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they are, and we don't enforce our rules at all. There's 150,000 students here from the Middle East. Many of them are probably good people who like America. But if 40% of them are overstaying their visas and we don't know where they are, that's a huge mistake and a huge risk to us.
It is breathtaking to think that 10 years ago in the United States Senate, we were talking about comprehensive immigration reform and taking votes. 10 years ago, talking about border security, and incremental dollars were added to the budget, and the Border Patrol doubled and tripled from levels of 2 decades ago. And there's, at this moment, as we speak, a surge of illegal immigrants on our border, particularly in the state of Texas. And this administration has told the American people, go to hell. We're going to do this my way. It doesn't matter what your silly Congress and your silly Senate have done in terms of enacting law. This is going to be done my way, and that border is staying wide open.
The problem with border security is not money, it's not a lack of agents, it's a lack of willpower. We have not had a Republican president or a Democrat president who had the willpower or had the inclination to defend the border. All you have to do is enforce the laws. It is illegal to come across illegally, and yet we don't do anything about it other than to say we're not going to do anything about it, and so you get more of something that you don't enforce the laws against. I think we need to enforce our laws, but that takes a president with the willpower to actually enforce the law.
Senator, great to have you with us. Congratulations for being in the top 5 in the New York Times CBS poll, and it's good to talk with you.